going on, guys? I hope that you're all having a wonderful day today. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Ty, and today in this video, I'm going to be talking about whether or not 2024 is a disappointing year for movies. Now listen, I know what you guys might be thinking. Wait a second, it's only early October. Why are you making this video? Listen, I feel like this is just a good time to reflect before we get to that crazy Oscar season, because I just want to talk about the bulk of the year. Now listen, is this a fair time to criticize this year? No, I don't review movies on this channel by just watching 75% of them. It's only fair to judge the year after the whole year has been completed, of course. But with that being said, I just want to talk about, for the most part, what this year's been like so far, because in my opinion, and I've mentioned this in multiple videos before, even at the start of this year about how I wasn't excited for that many movies this year, I still feel like it was relatively disappointing. Before I get into my reasoning as to why I thought this year was so disappointing, I just want to say really quick that I just started a fundraiser on GoFundMe for the people that have been affected by Hurricane Helene and that are going to be affected by Hurricane Milton. It's down in my bio, down in the description below. Anything that you could give helps, but yeah, that's about it. Let's move on. Now, before I really get into the meat and potatoes here, I just want to say this. I want to make it clear. I'm saying that this was a disappointing year for movies. I'm not saying that it's a bad year for movies. I don't think that there has ever really been a bad year for movies, but I just feel like there have been a lot of disappointments, and even from that, some films that I feel like maybe could have broken out just didn't. They just weren't as good as I thought that they were going to be, which kind of means the same thing, but you guys will see what I'm saying in a second. But I feel like we should just go through the year so far, loosely, and go over what I'm talking about. Let's kick things off in January and February, guys. I'm going to be real. Absolutely nothing came out in January and February. The only movie that's even worth talking about is Madame Web, but for the wrong reasons. And I know it's funny, the whole Madame Web thing was great for the community, but in reality, that film brings down the average of all the films that come out this year, because on paper, it was a horrible film. From there, you go into March and April. That's that weird time before the summer movie season. You had a pretty good sleeper like Monkey Man, but then from there, you had your Godzilla v Kong, which wasn't exactly great, or Godzilla x Kong. Perfectly fine blockbuster that honestly is kind of one of the worst MonsterVerse films to me. I did not really think it was that great, especially compared to maybe a Godzilla or a Kong Skull Island. In that same range, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out, and that was my second most anticipated film of the year, behind Deadpool and Wolverine, and I feel like it disappointed not just me, but a lot of people. I really thought that it was super just average at best, realistically, and I feel like now at this point of the year, nobody said a word about it. It kind of just came and went, like a lot of these movies that I'm talking about here. You had, though, your sleeper, like Challengers. That's an awesome film. Then The Fall Guy, perfectly fine movie. Dune Part 2, that's gotta be the standout for this year. So again, there were some hitters, there were some misses, but I just feel like the average up to that May-April range was not that great. You got your Furiosa, one of the better films of the year. But over the course of the summer, I feel like things almost just got worse, again, from an average standpoint. Inside Out 2 was pretty good. A Quiet Place Part 2 I thought was pretty good, or A Quiet Place Day 1, I should say. But then we get into Deadpool and Wolverine, the real standout of the year, one of the biggest standouts of the year. But from there, it's kind of just like we're meandering. We've got our Traps, our middle-of-the-pack type of films. We've got our Alien Romulus, a really solid horror film. But then you've got films like The Crow remake. You've got all these other duds that kind of just either go straight to streaming or they flop at the theaters, like a Borderlands, like a Megalopolis, like a Joker 2, another huge, monumental disappointment. And it just has me thinking, what's even going on for the rest of the year? We've got Venom: The Last Dance. That's probably not going to be that good. We've got Craven on that same note. Probably not going to be that good. Some of the other bigger hitters are like Wicked, which is a musical, which technically is, for a specific audience. Moana 2, I'm pretty excited about. Then, of course, all your Oscar season type of films, whether it's A Complete Unknown or just A Different Man. Those type of films, Saturday Night, which I'm very excited to see pretty soon. We Live in Time. Those all seem great. But just from start to finish, I feel like there was a lot of disappointments this year. The things that I feel like played into this year not being that great, obviously, is going to be the actors and writer strikes from early 2023, or mid-2023, I should say. That pushed so many things back. I think one of the best things that came out of that to save 2024 is that Dune Part 2 is supposed to release in November 2023. If that movie didn't come out this year on average would look a lot worse. I don't even know. I feel like everyone would have their different favorite films of the year, because I feel like a lot of people somewhat definitively agree that Dune Part 2 is the best film of the year. Even if it's not your favorite, maybe you could think it's the best. But if that movie didn't come out, if it came out last November like it was supposed to, oh my god, I feel like we'd be looking around like, guys, what's like the definitive best movie of the year? Don't get me wrong, everyone having different opinions, it makes things fun, but just from a quality standpoint, when the average is just lower, it kind of sucks. And not just that, a lot of movies that were even just supposed to start production in 2023 got pushed into 2024, meaning that now they're releasing in 2025. So next year, it looks like it's going to be insane for films, but again, this year just feels a bit weaker. I feel like you could categorize films releasing into 3 different categories. Number 1, you've got your blockbusters, right? Those are your big money makers. Some of them flop, don't get me wrong, but they're just widely talked about regardless. Then on the bottom, okay, I'm going to skip over the middle for a second, but on the bottom, you've got your absolute sleepers. Those are those movies that just sneak out of nowhere and they're just awesome. But then you've got those movies that kind of just float in the middle. I'd say that's almost like a Fall Guy. That's almost like a Trap. That's like a Twisters, where they're kind of just meandering in that middle section. This year, I think the blockbusters, honestly, were pretty subpar when it comes to other years. I look at what's coming out in 2025, oh my god, and don't get me wrong, I haven't seen those movies yet, but from a hype standpoint, good god, it looks amazing. This year, again, blockbusters were Deadpool and Wolverine, absolute crowd pleaser. But that's only one film. Dune Part 2 obviously is big, but it's not necessarily the biggest blockbuster, because on paper it is more of a artsy movie. Not that it really is. Everyone loves Dune, but I'm just saying. Inside Out 2 ended up making $1.5 billion. But from there, I just feel like there weren't that many blockbusters that came out. In that middle section, I feel like things were okay. That's where your Fall Guys are. That's where your Challengers are. And I'm not saying that Challengers isn't as good as some of the blockbuster movies. I'm just talking about from how much they're talked about, how popular they are, how much they cost to make, how much they should be making at the box office, just from that standpoint. I feel like these movies were okay this year. I'd say like Alien Romulus goes in there. Even Transformers 1, which is my second favorite movie of the year, I thought was amazing, blew me away. That kind of fits in that middle category. I thought that they were fine. But on the sleeper side, I'm going to be honest, these are those films that kind of sneak up, especially like towards the end of the year. I feel like we are lacking this year. There were really not that many sleepers that I watched that really just came up from behind and surprised me. I feel like, again, most of these kind of do come out like towards the end of the year. I'm sure that there'll be like a couple, like a Godzilla -1 that came out at the end of the year last year. Even the Iron Claw, I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but that was like a buzzer beater banger movie. I just feel like we didn't have that many this year. Saturday Night has the potential to be one of those that comes out soon. We Live in Time has the potential to be one of those, but I just feel like there were not that many sleepers. The blockbusters were pretty below average. The middle tier, hitters were fine, and then I feel like the sleepers were practically non-existent to an extent. It just really sucks, man. It really sucks, because we're treading through the year, right? We all want to see great films, but I just feel like overall, this year was ultimately disappointing. On the disappointing side, because I keep using this word, I should say, disappointing. I feel like there were films that disappointed a lot of people. That's just the reality. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, a lot of people were excited for, it disappointed. Even like a Godzilla x Kong, it came and it went. A lot of people were like, yeah, it's okay at best, it's fine. And again, I'm not trying to talk for other people, but I just feel like that's the reality, you know what I mean? You've got Joker 2. Good God, Joker 2. That was something else, man. That was really something else. Just a lot of disappointments this year. Deadpool and Wolverine, I'd say, definitely lived up to the hype. Dune Part 2 definitely lived up to the hype. But it just feels like a down year from a quality standpoint. Don't get me wrong, though. Again, next year looks great. And again, also, the year isn't over. But just looking at the rest of the year, there just doesn't feel like there's that oomph. Like there's that real thing that I'm just absolutely dying to see. Sure, there's Gladiator 2. That seems pretty cool. But overall, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I kind of wanted to just talk about the fact that I feel like this year was relatively disappointing. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're bound to have your own opinions. I loved a lot of movies this year. Don't get me wrong. I still very much enjoyed this year. I love every single year of movies. I'm just saying that compared to 2023, compared to 2022, compared to even what we're looking at for 2025 and 2026, this just feels like a down year. And again, it's because of all the factors that played into it, whether it's the actors and writers strike, all of that. Just kind of hurts it, and I feel like this year just kind of got screwed. But either way, that's just kind of the hand that we were dealt here. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. But guys, that's going to just about wrap up this video today. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.